Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to all the geeks out there and outlaw geekdom, and welcome to another podcast. Look at that, 2 in 1 week. How do we do this? Well, you guys know why we're doing this. We've got another interview with one of the other charities that is part of the stream this weekend, and we are speaking to, it's Hedy. Which one is it, Hedy or Hadley? Hedy. We're speaking to Hedy from CHOC. You're the, are you the CEO or?
Correct, that's me.
Okay, cool. It's the CEO from CHOC. He's obviously going to tell us a little bit about CHOC, how they came about and all that stuff, and we're just going to get a good insight into why we're supporting this charity as well.
Tell us a bit more about yourself first, I think.
Okay.
Who you are and what you do and all that, and then you can tell us about CHOC.
Okay, either or. I don't think it really matters either way, but go for it.
No, that's perfect. I always say that my wife's my boss. So first of all, thanks so much. My name is Hedy Lewis. I'm the CEO of CHOC. But just as importantly, I'm a father of 3. I've got a special wife. I live in South Africa and proudly South African. I'm an individual that has spent more than 12 to 13 years in the non-profit sector and come from the corporate sector before that. My mission and vision is how to uplift, how to enhance, and most importantly, how to augment. So from myself, I've never gone to med school, although both organizations that I've had the privilege of leading have been an augmentative body to the health sector, but these hands, I've never touched a needle, nor a scalpel. We'll leave that to the professionals. And from my side, just embracing the new norms.
Of course. No, that makes perfect sense. Sorry, Kez, if you're thinking Kez is doing something different, she's just busy working. She does 2 things on the side, so she'll be like changing volumes and stuff on the one side as well.
That's true.
She records you and I record myself and my stuff on my side. So you'll see me look to the right every once in a while as well, but don't worry about that.
No, still good.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about CHOC. How did the organization get founded?
Absolutely. CHOC is a non-profit organization founded over 42 years ago in South Africa. And it's founded on first the principles of a parent and parents who had a child that was going through these type of journeys. A journey of cancer, a journey of turmoil, and a turmoil of just uncertainty. And Sadie Cutlin, also a nurse, however, in this capacity, she was a mom. So was Julian, a dad. And the 2 of them, while they were going through this journey, the one thing that they lacked and they yearned for was just being able to speak to other parents in more of a comprehensive way, an understanding of what the journey may look like. They had the privilege of being in great healthcare facilities, but the one area that was challenging is having other people that may have similar journeys, similar experiences, being able to bounce, as well as to cry with those that are going through a similar journey. And Sadie and Julian started the thought pattern of, well, what can they do now that their child has come through the journey and is a survivor? Sadie and Julian then took on the opportunity to say, well, with their learnings, what can they do and how can they impact other individuals, other families in our country? Because their thought was if it happened to them, obviously it can happen to anybody. And I think the one reality is that cancer knows no age, no race, religion, color, or creed, nor boundaries, nor oceans. And I think that 42 years ago, it was those thoughts that Sadie had that drove her to start an organization that 42 years ago we all sit here today. The organization was founded by volunteers of individuals that truly care about others, and most importantly, in our environment, care about children and their families, and families that are going through rare blood disorders, that are going through a journey that's really unattainable, unknowledgeable, and an environment, when you look at it, is, well, how do you even start that journey? For us at CHOC, just to give you just a bird's eye view of who we are, what we do, and why we do it, CHOC is a non-profit organization. We're an organization that is built on principles of our founders being volunteerism, inclusivity, as well as supportiveness. But just as importantly, it's built on principles of saying, how do we augment the medical fraternity? Because just as I have had no experience nor medical training in any of the med schools across South Africa, so too have most of the individuals that work for our organization. Our organization is about how do we augment the support of these families and their children? How do we support them to just reduce the anxiety, the stress levels, how to help give them just a little bit of an inkling of coping mechanism. Not that I could even fathom what they go through. The one thing that I, as the CEO of the organization, will never say that I can empathize or sympathize, because I can't. What I can say is that I believe that everyone, no matter where they are in journeys, need help. So it's really my privilege to be able to lead an organization that has three main cores. The one is around patient support and patient-facing environments. And what do we mean by that? In every tertiary hospital across the country that CHOC supports, we have social workers that help with the emotional environment, the pre, post, and during trauma counseling, the orientation process to the word cancer, the translation of medical terminology. You know, most of us think that, okay, so do we really understand it? Do we understand it in multi-languages? And that is the beauty of having social workers that have trained specifically in pediatric oncology. Not only do they work within the hospital, but they form part of that augmentative body within a multidisciplinary team of the pediatric oncology unit, headed up by the pediatric oncology head. For us, it's about what else can we do emotionally in order to support. So the likes of some of our volunteers will be there to show their support, so parent support at times. That is what the values, and that's why the inkling and why the seed really was planted to grow an organization of this baobab tree that stands so brightly in South Africa. For us to continue, just to give more insight, we've got 13 houses across the country. Why do we have these houses? Nutritional support, a place for the families to reside, because often one of the parents or guardians may need to leave their job temporarily, which would mean added economic pressure onto the family. Similarly, making sure that going from the house to the hospital, we've got 21 vehicles every day running up and down, taking the families in and out, so that they don't have to stay the full day, or they can come back to the house and relax and rest. So for us, it's about ease of use, and once again, there's no costs involved in any of these environments. Things that people may think is small, but has a huge impact, like care bags, sometimes having blankets, educational toys, reading material, but also small things like toothbrush, toothpaste, and even sometimes the likes of a cream for the mommy or the dad that may need it, just to make them feel as if they're actually cared for and they're there. Sadly, CHOC is about traveling a journey from the very start of the time when there's a possibility of one of the signs of diagnoses all the way to the end. And the end could either becoming a survivor, or sadly, families do lose children due to cancer. And for us, it's about traveling that journey regardless of which direction it should go. So if it should become the survivor, how do you cope with that connection and going back into your home? How do you come back into the community life? And how do you navigate life to a degree post this journey? Sadly, if the child is passed, then we give a small amount of a bereavement fund that kind of gives them funding to be able to make calls, do small planning, and just to start the process, as well as the post and the trauma and the support there. CHOC has two main other areas. The one is around education. So as CHOC, in collaboration with the SASSG, which is the Pediatric Oncology Association, the major belief in order to reduce mortality rates or lift mortality rates is about saying, well, how do we do that? Early warning signs. What are the signs to know that if there is an opportunity to refer a child, where do they actually go if there's a child that needs? And then finally, what is the referral pass? But there's another very important aspect of this entire journey, and that is just the realization that cancer can happen to children. And CHOC needs to advocate, create awareness, because as humans, you don't want to feel that a child, a person that has done no wrong, a person that is so young, could face such a tough journey ahead of them together with their families. So it's our job to create this awareness, and not just to educate governments, not just to educate the greater South Africa, but to educate everyone along the line to say, this could happen to you. And it's not about creating that stressful environment that people should constantly be thinking, is it mine? Do I have it? But knowledge is power as well. And the professionals and the medical experts are very clear. Early diagnosis becomes better prognosis, which makes their life a lot easier in order to treat the child. So it's those educational aspects that are so important to us. And finally, advocacy, which is a lot of engaging with governments, engaging with schools, engaging with education. And advocacy is not just about bills and policies and procedures. It's once again creating awareness and education within every sphere of our country, within our communities, and within our homes.
That's a lot of information there. Not a bad thing. It's good to get all of it out, because we need to obviously know these things. But you've answered every question I was going to ask. In just a matter of seconds.
I think what we could do is I could give you like more shorter little things. What does CHOC do? And two-liner if you need that. And we can...
No, it's not necessary. That's not necessary. No. This is all being added into the video as is. We like to keep it as real as possible, so that like none of the stuff that we do is scripted. If you figure that out.
I'm sure you would have realized that, because we didn't send you any questions that we were going to ask or anything like that. But one of the questions I did have, you said that you support some of the hospitals. I probably misunderstood, or I probably misunderstood it, but are you wanting to get into all of the hospitals in South Africa? Is that something that CHOC is working on?
So when we say some, we support tertiary hospitals, because that's where pediatric oncology resides. So the pediatric oncology as cancer is a speciality. So the main part of the treatment happens within the major institutions, which are seen as the tertiary environment. So that's where our social workers, that's where the pediatric oncology environment. So we support them directly. However, our mission and vision is to continue to create education and knowledge within the clinics, the district hospitals, as well as the tertiary hospitals. So obviously, because that's where the main treatment is performed by the fraternity according to the protocols, obviously our major support and our major linkage is directly to the pediatric oncology environment.
No, that makes sense. If you're wondering what I was taking there, it was an antihistamine. I suffer from heavy hay fever here in Scotland.
The only problem that I have is you're not sharing.
I'm sorry. It's all the way up here, unfortunately. I could try throwing it, but I don't think it'll make it.
No, thanks so much.
Make the 7,000-kilometer trip. Yeah, so no, it's interesting to see this now. You obviously said that there's a lot of CHOC houses. How many? You did tell 13. The number. How many are located in easy to reach places for those families who are for example, more rural? Are there any located around those kinds of areas?
So how CHOC positions, and due to the studies and the learnings of the 42 years, is we have houses within 25-kilometer radius of the hospitals.
Okay.
So that's how it works. But the extension to the program is we spend an incredible amount of money with transport. And most people, when they hear the R750,000 around transport, they think that's the vehicles, that the 21 vehicles. But we spend probably close, just over R750,000 just getting the families to the tertiary hospital environment. So first, we've got to bring them from wherever they reside all the way to whether it's in the Johannesburg area, the Pretoria area, the various municipality or province environments where the main hospital is, and then to keep them as close as possible, which is why our hospitals reside as close as possible, in order to assist. So part of our role in augmenting the family support is their transport coming from wherever they come to the CHOC house if they're going to stay there, but just as importantly to be able to be close to the hospital. And the one thing that in lower LSM countries, the reality is that the 30 Rand that they may need for a taxi or a transport or a bus ticket could be the difference between getting the actual treatment or not. So for most of us, we don't really conceptualize that could be the challenge. It's not the challenges of actually getting the medical care. These challenges could be just as big of a challenge to the families. I think that one of the things that I also think just to note is that when CHOC assists a family, it's not just about the patient itself and that parent or guardian. The reality is, first of all, as I said, one of the family members could have to stop work for a period of time, which put financial constraints. But then you have siblings in the house as well, where mommy or the guardian may be away from certain times, and that sibling says, look, I love my brother, or I love my sister, or I love my family member, but mommy's away for a long time, or Gogo's away for a long time. And it's about being able to assist them and help them with those type of navigations, because the family environment is just as stressful as what could be happening within that hospital environment potentially as well. And it could add to the anxiety and the stress of where we're going. I think that, when I look at the social workers, pre-COVID, it was about navigating the journey of pediatric cancer and that journey of that cancer treatment. During COVID, the added anxiety of having COVID also added to what's going to happen in the hospital. Do I have to wear a mask? Don't have to wear a mask? How long do I have to stay? And these are the things that CHOC prided itself on, is being some of the support structures to the medical fraternity to help reduce the stress and help the families to gain education in order to hopefully navigate in a less stressful environment.
No, of course. No, that makes perfect sense. And it's always great to see organizations like this actually come out and do this much work to help, especially families who are basically desperately in need of any kind of assistance, whether it's just answers to questions or transport to and from the hospital because they can't do it themselves. I mean, with the petrol price going up quite substantially, how much is that hitting you guys? Are you actually starting to feel it, or are the donations helping?
So look, every cent counts. I think that last financial year, we spent just on the transport, because that was R750,000. The anticipation is that's at least 10 to 20% going to be up. Never mind that, sadly, because of the economic climate globally, we're finding the petrol price under further stress. Another thing that's putting a lot of pressure on us is nutrition is a major area that we make sure that within the houses that the family get as much nutrition as they may need according to what the specifications are, and making sure that they take padkos when they go home or into the hospital if they need added. And it's no secret that food itself is the prices are going up as well. So, I always say that this is not specific to CHOC. I think that what COVID has taught us is we're all in the same sea, just different boats. Yeah. Our organization, if you take COVID, the organization only shut down for level 5 for a period of 10 days. And then it was overwhelming from the medical fraternity to say to us, we have to reopen. Our social workers need to continue because cancer treatment has to continue in order for diagnosis. Regardless of increases of petrol prices or food prices or economic climates, we need to continue, and we don't have the luxury of saying patient-facing support can be reduced. We may have the luxury of saying less education or less training around some of those areas, which is not optimum either. But around patient-facing support, we don't have that luxury.
No, of course. I think Kez has got a question.
With the education side of things, I remember when I was little, CHOC came to our school and taught us about cancer and what CHOC does and stuff. Do you still go to schools and start from there? Because like for me it was primary school level, and I went home and I told my mom all about what I learned from CHOC and stuff like that. And obviously it's always wise to start educating people from a young age, I think, because then they know what to look for going forward, or just know, so that if they hear of someone that they can go, oh wait, CHOC can help you, or refer them to you guys, or give them the information that they learned and stuff.
So the education really happens in a multifaceted approach. One is called messaging. And the way we do it is the Pediatric Oncology Association came up with a very simple acronym called SILAWAN. So, and each of the letters has a different sign that could be a flag for potential needs to either a pediatrician, your GP, or to a pediatric oncology. So for instance, S would be seek help, I could be a white eye spot, L could be a lump tie, and that messaging we do within schools. We don't do it from us, it's about what is the appropriate level, because you also don't want to scare the children, so it's about appropriate education. And then from the children, it's about educating parents, teachers, and then you've got principals, and then similarly around other community environments. So religious leaders is one of the areas where we try and educate, because often families would seek advice, or a child would be going to a religious leader's institution that they go to, and that religious leader or individuals in that environment could assist as well. So the education really is all the way up, and then to reinstill and to support the nursing fraternity, referral processes. So CHOC really, sadly, because of COVID, those are the areas that were hard hit, and we had to reduce that because of social distancing. But as of the beginning of the year, when things definitely had a reduction in the curve, that has been the focus to revitalize that environment, and similarly to start bringing back the volunteers. And the volunteers are not about just fundraising or just playing with the kids. The volunteers are there for the families in certain times. They're there to be part of the ward warmth and welcoming environment for those families as well.
Okay. We're obviously going to put all of the links in the description and all of that stuff, and we'll ask you again at the end of the video where people can actually find CHOC and where they can find out if they want to volunteer or anything like that. We'll obviously, I assume it's going to the website to be able to
Absolutely.
Volunteer.
choc.org.za.
Awesome.
It's one package with all the information. Everything is there.
Awesome. That's great. So we're gonna jump onto the more fun questions now. I don't know if the kids has got anything else to ask. I love breaking her brain here, because then she gets this look of she's thinking.
Sorry. That was a very loud I think when Carl reached out to you guys, he said, and I do stand to be corrected, but he said that the fundraiser that we're doing, so the online fundraiser with the streaming and stuff, is still new to CHOC. Is that something that you guys are looking at incorporating, to do fundraisers a different way, and getting more onto the social media side of things?
So I think that every organization thought that they had a digital fundraising arm. And I use the word thought because COVID taught us very clearly where our gaps in any organization was. CHOC really prides itself on having an array of fundraising activities, from events to conventional fundraising with high net worth or corporates or things like that. But the major thing that we've realized is that digital fundraising is the future of everything. And it's not about COVID or not COVID. I think that's where you access the majority of the people on the planet. So that's where your target market is that's where we have to grow the opportunities. And also, it's not just around the fundraising of the environment, is also to continue to spread the awareness. So, I mean, and I'll give you an example. There's a refer a patient link on the website, where we can help. Any fundraising opportunities, learning about the Silouan signs and the education. So for us, I think that every organization, corporate, is now, well, how do you package information via social media, or how do you fundraise in the new norms? I mean, I'm not going to try and create this perception that I understand what gaming is about. I mean, I'm going to show my age, and I remember playing with my Nintendo.
Yeah, I know.
So, but having said that, is that where there are individuals or there are niches in fundraising or awareness, that we would be naive not to grasp those opportunities and to launch into those environments as well. So this is definitely an opportunity where I think that people haven't seen it for what it is. I don't think that they see it as professionalized as it really is. I don't think they see it as, I'm not going to say competitive, because I think you probably got competitive elements, and then you've got the fun elements, and then you got the family elements where you can do things together. And I look at yourself and your family joining, and then similarly, well, then how do you harness these relationships to create crowd fundraising or opportunities of destigmatizing?
Yeah, of course. No, that makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. I actually did have one more question with regards to CHOC and fundraising. So obviously it's not just money that you guys are looking for. What other kind of donations would you be looking for as an organization?
Look, from our side, I mean, you know, the families stay within the CHOC facilities. So often people would help us often with maintenance of the facilities, but also with the likes of bedding or new beds or enhancements of child-friendly educational tools that we use as well. Games, toys, you know, the one thing that CHOC hopes to continue to always perpetuate is, regardless of their journey, is to give them an opportunity still to remain a child and to be a child within this world. So it could be educational toys, it could be educational toys, it could be games, it could be books. These are the things that these families will always require and need. And you know, the likes of a teddy bear. I mean, why should a child that comes from a family of a low LSM environment not have a new teddy bear? Yes, we can't take second-hand teddy bears because of infection control and things like that. But a new teddy bear is something that, in my opinion, every child should have. So if we look at, and we're about to go into July month, which is Mandela month, very soon we'll be launching on our website, and there'll be an entire shopping list of things that we require. And often people will say, well, they'll pledge to buy this, or they've got games, or they'll buy, or they'll support. So it's not just financial support that we require. I think that lastly, there's one very important thing, is that often people will approach us and say, well, what happens if I got no money and I don't have volunteer time? How can they help? Because they want to do something. And I think that there's always something that a person can do. And that something is just about sharing a post on our social media. You never know where that post is going to land up, who's going to see it, and whose child may be referred, all because of one flick of your cell phone. So there's always opportunities to help in some engagement, whether it's opening doors to CHOC, to join us as a conduit to a family that may need it, or to just creating a social media. I think that most people gravitate to think when they think about a non-profit organization, they think money. But for us, it's about becoming part of the family, becoming part of the volunteer initiatives. And if the first thing that you do is just to spread the awareness, you could have saved a life just by doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And that's one of the reasons why we like to do these kinds of things. We do exactly the same thing, because sometimes it's not just about the money, but it's about the awareness. So we 100% agree with that.
Well, we always say, if you can't volunteer, donate. If you can't donate, then share. Because you never know, it could lead to someone donating lots of money, or it could lead to someone's life being saved. There's every little bit, no matter how big or small, always makes a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
And that's
being a voice is just as important.
Yeah, of course. And that's the absolute truth. You know, the more you can raise awareness for things like this, the better it is, and the better it is for the companies as well. Not just CHOC, but I mean there are other companies out there as well that support you, that could also need the support. You know, there could be hospitals out there that need a little bit of support, and if someone goes, oh well, if CHOC is here and I can do something for CHOC and these guys, then I'll do it for both. So it helps. Every little bit helps with every single company. So it's always, you know, just touch one person's heart and they'll touch another 5 people's hearts and so on. Yeah, it's a big growth thing.
About that ripple effect of dropping that pebble into the water and you're watching.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Right, we're going to go on to some more enjoyable questions, something that'll make you that might make you smile just a little bit. I think Kez wants to start because she looks like she's got a good question.
What is your favorite dessert?
Chocolate mousse.
That's a good one.
That's a very good one. That is actually a really good one.
Mousse. There's no thought behind that. You really want to sweeten it, which is really decadent. You add bar one sauce to that.
Oh, jeez, that would be
That is really decadent.
That would be very sweet. Wow.
For those of you in the UK, it's similar to a Mars bar.
Yeah.
So just take Mars bar sauce.
Yeah, it's the closest thing you're going to get to a bar one. Although nothing beats a
Nothing
bar
beats a bar one. No.
to be honest. All right, so you said that the last time you played games was on your old Nintendo. What was the very first game you played on that Nintendo?
Mario Brothers.
Of course. Should I have even asked?
Look, if I really want to show my age, on the 286 computer that my father had, we played Pac-Man, or I think it was called in those times, and everyone remembers.
Yes.
What? So if you had to choose, what is your all-time favorite game to play?
So Mario Brothers.
It's a good one. It's a classic. Everyone loves Mario Brothers. I mean, you know, it's still going on today. You know, the Nintendo Switch has got all the Mario Brothers games, and there's all different Mario things going on. So it's still even going on today.
Yeah, I remember the Game Boy. I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Do you like fantasy or sci-fi movies?
Yeah, not probably more fantasy, not very sci-fi, but really fantasy that could convert into some type of reality.
Okay. So you're more of an adventure kind of person, where it comes to like reality kind of adventure, where it's, I don't know, name a movie that you really enjoyed, like Top Gun or something like that. I don't know.
But you can't say Top Gun.
You can't say Top
Gun.
I mean, look, I think that everyone likes the conventional, but I don't know if anyone ever remembers the movie Coming to America with Eddie Murphy.
Yes. Jeez,
Really will show my time.
Yeah.
My wife always thinks, my gosh, how many times can she watch that movie? Particularly, I mean, that's a movie, but if you have a look at Nemo with my kids, I love that just as much, because there's just so many giggles and laughs. And sometimes the experience of the movie is just watching it with your family and seeing how they experience the movie.
Yeah, no, that is true. Are you a big reader?
When I get some time, I do try.
What genre is your favorite genre?
So, truthfully, I love biographies. That's really, I like to I like to get into the mind of other human beings and to just take their learnings. So that's really my love and passion as we speak now.
Oh, okay. So what was the most recent biography that you've read?
So I've read Richard Branson's, which was an interesting book, and then it's a book that's been out for a very long time, but Raymond Ackerman's book, I think it's called Jumping Grasshoppers, which is also very insightful, but very personal/business book, which I've really enjoyed. But then you have some of the other softer books everyone loved the Madiba biography and his involvement. That's probably the most iconic one that people would have read or will read.
Yeah. I think my mom's got a copy of it. Wasn't it called 46664 My Story?
So that's one, but I think the one that I've read is The Long Walk to Freedom.
Okay, yes, that is the most popular. That's correct. Long Walk to Freedom is the most popular. I'm thinking about the one that my mother had.
I'm still gonna ask it.
Sure.
If you were stranded on a deserted island, would you like to have video games, books, or board games with you?
Video games, books, or board games? Probably board games, because maybe I could use them as plates as well. Which I've only recently. In my childhood, I think we were more video games and going out. I think that in my family specifically, and COVID has enhanced that. I think there's a lot of board games, and it's about from the 4-year-old to the 10-year-olds. It's about finding something for everybody. Yeah. So I think my wife would be very surprised by the comment, but probably board games.
Is there any board game you've been playing recently?
My family loves Monopoly, but I find it far too competitive and too stressful because of the competitive, even from the 4-year-olds all the way to my wife. So, that's their love, but Rummy Cup's also cool.
I remember Rummy Cup.
And I think that it's also about seeing what everyone can join in. So the other thing that's really great is, and we all love good old Uno.
Uno's cool, yeah. Reverse to you. Brain stopped working.
When you're not working, what hobbies do you have, or what do you do when you're basically in your downtime?
So I think that the biggest challenge for me is about balancing my personal and my office environment, because I think that theoretically more of your time is spent in the business environment, and it's just the reality of where we are. And I always say that from CHOC side, everyone says, oh, what a great person, what are you doing, that's great, but it's really an environment of everyone having to play their part. We're a team of 74, 75 staff members that every day work towards that, and for me, I've got to kind of balance that. So when I'm not working, I try really hard to give each one of my children their special time. So whether it's playing a board game, or whether it's listening to a story, or putting them to sleep, or really having non-digital times that I have the privilege on a Saturday saying that there's no TVs, there's no phones, there's no laptops, it's just about us. And that balance allows me to really say, well, what are the priorities in my life? And obviously work has to be their priority, but the balance is, well, what do I do with my family? I'd love to say that I'll take up golf, but that would mean that it's a wave. But my other love is just really de-stressing and trying to just get to the gym a little bit. The good thing about that is it's not time bound either, so I can work around my family timing, making sure that I spend those special times with both my family, my wife, my kids, and my greater family as well.
Of course. So recently, what movie? What is the favorite movie that you've watched recently?
Sure. Most recent
question, I know.
I think in the last little while we probably watched Aladdin as a family as a whole. I know it's an old movie, but it kind of allows for for my baby of 4, 10, and everyone to be involved in it. So I think that's probably
Was it the cartoon Aladdin?
absolutely, you can't watch any other one.
Exactly, I agree, 100%. The cartoon was the best one. There's more. You can get more funny emotions out of the characters if they're drawn than you'll ever get out of a human being. Like
The person one, so the live action one wasn't that bad, but I still prefer the cartoon Aladdin.
Yeah, me too.
One of my other loves is to find little series that you can kind of jump into other people's lives. I think it allows you to just experience and kind of detach for short spaces of time. And I mean, Modern Family is one of my all-time favorites. So I think binge watching on Netflix is as well. But I like to mix it up, and reading is comes into the play as well.
Yeah. I've been doing the House thing recently. So I've been watching House from season 1 all the way up, and I do it while I play games or when I'm busy doing something else on my PC. So that's what I've also I love watching TV series and just like having them plays and while I'm doing something else, because funny enough I absorb them when I do that. So you say Modern Family though. What else? What other TV show have you recently watched?
Look, I don't want to say that I've recently watched Friends, although I think that I've watched most of the series there. Sure. Can't think of any
Friends
more.
is a classic though. You can watch it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I mean, Friends, The Big Bang Theory, those are all great. It's just about trying to balance. But the binge watching is probably becoming problematic now, and I think that that's a good thing about making sure when I'm in the office environment that there's focus. I think binge watching late at night and making sure, okay, so even though you might be getting up slightly later, it's you still got to function.
Yeah, no, it is true. I mean, we're working from the office now, so we know how it feels. There's more focus when you're in the office if you're doing like a heavy focus kind of a job. For us, our jobs aren't very heavily focused, so we don't have to worry too much about it. But yours is going to be heavy.
I mean, the last thing that I've just watched is Blacklist, which was 7 series of a lot of intense. I couldn't believe that they actually kept me focused all the way to the end. So yeah, it's a interesting series.
Yeah, I've heard that Blacklist is quite good. It's like that other Tom Clancy thing that I like. I forget what it's called. Jack Ryan. That's good. I watched the first episode of Jack Ryan, and I'm still wanting to get into it. But that looks like a decent series as well. Because I'm a big Tom Clancy fan. I've got all of the games that they made on his books, and I've read a couple of his books as well. So I do like my espionage games and books.
Look, I have to kind of share if we're doing the family and watching. I mean, I don't know if this is a good bad thing to admit, but I've watched Downton Abbey. So
there's nothing wrong with that. Some people I've never seen it, so.
But it's about picking and choosing. But you've got to live life as well, enjoy life.
Yeah, exactly. No, that is the truth. So yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. What we need to do now is we need to ask you where everyone can find you. CHOC obviously, but what are the if there is more than just obviously the website, where all the locations that any volunteers or potential volunteers or donators can find you?
So I think that the central point and the cog of the entire communication opportunity lies with the website being CHOC, which is www.choc.org.za. And I think that we're on all the major platforms from Facebook to Twitter to LinkedIn to Instagram, all our hashtags. And in order to connect to the right platforms with CHOC are all really well positioned on the website.
Awesome. That's great. And any last words that you have for anyone watching the video at the moment?
So I think that the last word is that there's no deed that can't make a difference in someone's life. And I think that we've discussed from sharing of social media to making a donation to volunteerism to being the voice. And that cog really comes together in one sentence from one of the pediatric oncologists by the name of Professor David Reinders. And he said, it doesn't take a village to raise a child, it takes a village to treat a child as well. And I think that really comes together and unites how everyone, no matter how far or how near, whether you're ever going to meet the family or not, can make a difference in a child's and their family's life.
Now that's very profound and very true. It's a very good way to actually put it. All right, well that was great. Thank you so much for joining us, Hedy. It's been wonderful to actually sit down and chat with you and actually get to know a bit more about the organization, and people get to know a bit more about you as well. And we're gonna obviously we'll see what we can do from our side. Hopefully we can get some decent money in for you guys, and if not money, at least some awareness out. Well, I mean, we're pushing to get some donations so that at least there's something coming in. But we're definitely trying to raise that awareness for the organizations as well, and hopefully this is going to help with that. But yes, again, Hedy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a wonderful time, and I enjoyed getting to know you as the person behind CHOC as well. I'm sure a lot of our fans have as well. You're more than welcome. Angel?
Yeah, and just, I mean, once again, a final thank you to those that don't have the voice, to thank each and every one of you, from the families from the patients, and just as importantly, from the medical fraternity that we augment. What you're really doing is you're adding that extension to their amazing and their heroic daily work that they do on every day of their life. So thank you very much from all of us.
No, you are most welcome, and I'm sure every other YouTuber and content creator that is joining us this weekend is going to be exactly the same, and they'll also obviously say it from their side. But yeah, again, thank you so much, and we're gonna sign off as usual.
Don't do it.
I'm not gonna forget this time, okay? Because the last interview I had with the other organization, I actually forgot to sign off. I'm gonna sign off today. So, guys, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope really deeply that it actually gave you some insight into the company and who CHOC actually is, and what they actually do for them, do for their people and for the people that they're actually caring for. And yeah, guys, hit that link down below. Go and look at the fundraisers and see what they do from their side. But over and above that, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, tell us why. If you didn't, same thing, hit the dislike button and tell us why, because we always like insight. We do need to know what's going on. If you really like us, hit that subscribe button, and as always, remember,
Kiki.
keep it kiki. Bye.